not that I want to trade it, but I romanticize it. When he told me that, I was like, dude, why am I looking at the positives from it when there's so many negatives? I just need to, you know, and I help people for a living. Like, I need to be like, dude, and I still help them, but I just need to tell, like, I need to be like, dude, I hate that. Like,
yeah, I think you need to have a healthy respect for it.
That's even of interest.
You know what I mean?
Way, yeah.
And you know,
because it's a strong beast.
When I'm reading in the book, it says that, you know, I can go anywhere I want.
Yeah.
If I have a reason to be there.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I go to a bar to watch my buddies play guitar, I'm good there. As long as I don't, you know, partake or romanticize or try to live vicariously through these people getting drunk at the bar.
Yeah.
You know, but have you ever been sober to a like a house party?
Oh, it's crazy.
You guys are fucking idiots.
That's exactly. Dude,
it's like
thought,
that
man.
was me for
That's why
15 years.
Shirt, man. Hangover suck.
Nice.
Like, dude, I mean, so I was just on my way over here, right? And the guy that basically the guy that runs the building I live in, and he owns. I guess I don't want to say too much about him, but he owns some clubs down in Ogden and stuff like that. And we crossed paths, and he's like, and I'm like, "What's up, brother?" And he's like, "Dude, feeling exactly like your shirt today." And I was like, "Oh, I know the vibe, man. Like, I'm glad I'm not there."
Right.
You know, because dude, it's and I live right above a club. You know what I'm saying? So I see it all the time, man. I see it all the time.
Yeah,
people rolling by, and I'm like, ugh.
So we went to the country club, you know, for the. My father-in-law is a member of the Ogden Country Club over here.
Ooh, look at you.
Yeah.
I grew up there, man.
Yeah,
that pool.
yeah.
I
Golf
grew up in
course.
Salt Lake Country Club, so I'm with you.
But anyway, I'm watching these people drink wine, you know, as I'm sitting there, and a part of me is like, because that's who I thought the route I was going to go. Like, I wanted to just, you know, be able to drink on the weekends and hang out
like a gentleman.
Yeah, hang out.
Exactly.
Hang out with my father-in-law and have a few beers and maybe you know on Sunday and I was just and I
be
was
a man, right?
I was watching these people drinking and they weren't look. If I had wine, I would be having a wrestle the whole time with the wine. I'd be like, I don't want to drink this too fast because everyone will be like, why is he drinking it too fast? But I'm not feeling anything yet. You know, it hasn't hit my system, but I'd sit there and have this wrestle with it. But I'm watching these people, and they didn't even pick up their glass of wine for 10 minutes.
Right.
You know, and
you're like, whoa.
That's the difference, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Dustin's in the corner romancing this glass of wine.
Right.
Just, my precious. My precious.
Right.
You know, and there people are over there like had one sip and you know, we'll leave it. And
right.
I used to get up from dinner and if there was a half drinking beer on the table, it was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right.
What
not what's wrong with me, but what's wrong with you?
Exactly. Dude.
You're a waste.
Dude, it's so interesting the way that we look at things. Like, so I was we had this guy in treatment about a year ago, and he gosh, I forget his name. It makes it better, just the first name. But anyway, he was like, dude, I kind of realized when I was an alcoholic, when I was saying, you know what, but the thing is, I just have an issue that I can't have a drink at my daughter's wedding. And then he's like, but I don't even have a daughter yet. You know, like he's like, I'm planning out when I can drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, yeah, it's not normal, man. Like, you know, when you were just sharing what you were saying about the wine, like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine if someone was like that about rice. Like, I don't want to eat it too fast because people will think and there's food addictions, but I'm just saying, like, that's not a healthy relationship with the wine. That kind of like, clues you
what's
off.
the appropriate, you know, how many forkfuls
Good point,
per second,
exactly.
per minute.
Exactly.
And, you know, I identify with what you were saying, wanting to have a drink with your dad or brothers,
right?
You know, and I'll tell you what, I got sober 2 years ago,
right?
And I had a year, and you know what took me out?
What?
That fantasy.
Yeah.
That fantasy, because I couldn't do a step one,
right?
Because I couldn't admit that I was powerless over alcohol, because somewhere in the back of my brain, the fantasy of a vacation or sitting out on my back porch with my dad smoking a stogie, having a beer.
Right.
That kept me sick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like literally sick for months, and it ended up taking me, a lot of other things, but took me back out.
Alcohol took me back after 7 years. I get it, dude. So, I mean, what was your drug of choice? Was it that?
No, I grew up on painkillers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think that's all three of us.
The interesting thing, like, for me,
I grew up on painkillers, dude. I love that.
I was raised on painkillers. My mom gave me Dimetap at a very young age to get me to
To
sleep.
quell the cough,
Yeah.
I had a few buddies who had prescriptions to Adderall, and I had a prescription to Adderall, when I was getting my MBA, but anyway, and it got out of hand, and then I had to figure out, but I held on to that. We'd go fishing. We're big fly fishermen.
Yeah.
And we my buddies could take one Adderall, you know what I'm saying, and it'd help them keep focus, and there's but I would find myself so at that time, I didn't have a prescription anymore, and it had clearly become a problem. Everyone knew. I was like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I found myself following those dudes around the river all day, trying to convince them to get. I couldn't fish. I couldn't, and it was sad looking back. You were hunting. I don't want to say they want to make a joke out of it. And at the time, they would throw me an Adderall, and I was still drinking and trying to hang on to that. Like it'd be like, all right, I'm gonna hang on to the fishing trip. I go fishing on fishing trips 2 times a year with my buddies, and I got a party on the fishing trip. So it was kind of one of those things. But I literally would follow those guys around the river. There was nothing about fishing I could give a shit about.
You
fishing.
were hunting it, dude.
I wanted an Adderall, and I just wanted to. And I'd romanticize about when they kicked in and how fun it was going to be to fish.
Yeah.
And then I had to smoke. Then it was weed because I hated the come down.
Yep.
And then it went to alcohol. And I look at these trips that I used to think were supposed to be a good time, and they're my best friends ever, but they didn't have it like I had it. You know what I'm saying?
When you say that, you mean they didn't have it like?
Well, they didn't wrestle with it all day.
Gotcha, yeah.
They didn't wrestle with it.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for the fishing day to get over. Couldn't wait for it to get over just so we could rally around the campfire.
Well,
Yeah.
dude, they were fishing for fish. You were fishing for Adderall.
Well, yeah, just fishing
Literally.
for just the party scene.
Yeah.
And to be, I haven't been able to get back into fishing. I do. I went with my kid,
That's
and this is part of my spiritual work. But I just went with my kid this last weekend fishing with my dad and my kid, and it's just I can't get excited. I don't want to tie on the fly. Like if it's a slow, fishing's a slow thing and it's a spiritual thing. But I am getting that back into it. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about how to get back into stuff that we almost tainted.
Yeah.
And it's a lot with these addicts. Even the party scene. I talked to the clients over at War, and we've had this discussion, and one of them said this, and it was a pretty sad comment, but it's kind of true. He says, "I've just realized that I'm never gonna have fun again."
Ooh,
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Man,
such a
that's a hard way to say it.
short-sighted comment.
Yeah.
Just in that moment, I get it.
Right.
That it's stealing your joy, but you tell me a story about going fishing, and at what point was that fun to you?
Right.
It's a mission.
Right.
I used to get up every morning, and the sole thing from wake up was, how am I going to get my next fix?
yeah.
And I would do work and family around that, but my mental focus was that, and I missed out on those relationships, and you missed out on bonding with your bros over fly fishing.
Yeah.
I grew up fly fishing. with my dad and my brothers and stuff. They're actually up in Island Park fly
Right.
fishing right now. But when you look back at those instances where you're like, I'm never gonna have fun again.
Not only I'm never gonna have fun again, but I've realized I'm never gonna have fun again. That's almost worse to say. It's almost like I've thought that before, but now I know it to be true, right? Just keep going, but that shocks me.
Yeah, it's just, man, I just wish I would have been there for that.
Yeah.
Because if recovery wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If this life, the life I'm living now, if it wasn't fulfilling to the max,
Wow.
then what's the point?
Right.
You know what I mean? You miserable, trade misery for misery.
Right.
If I'm going to be miserable, I'd rather be high. Misery, you know. So I had to build a life, and that's the thing is, you could say I'm never going to have fun again, but that's on you. When I got, the last 6 months, where I feel like I turned a corner. I'm building a life that I won't give back. I won't give it back. I'm building relationships with people that I had my mom and dad. Me and my mom are tighter than we've ever been.
Wow.
In that relationship. And I was so focused on my next fix for all those years that I didn't have time to give to relationships. That was stealing my joy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So forget fly fishing. I can't even have a conversation with my dad at a Sunday table because my mind's somewhere else.
You're not even gonna be invited fly fishing.
Right? Not invited. Yeah. Or, there's an elephant in the room,
Yeah.
and just every single family party. And growing up and while I was in my addiction, family get-togethers cause a lot of anxiety. Because of the way I portrayed myself, I put that way I laid my life out alongside of my brothers and my dad and people in my family.
Right.
So that I wasn't good enough.
Explain that a bit.
It causes so much anxiety that
Right.
what's my solution? The solution to my problem was drugs and alcohol. Something happened that I didn't like, numb it.
Yeah.
Something happened that was awesome, celebrate it. And
With drugs and alcohol.
yeah, absolutely. And that was my solution to the problem, to life,
Right.
right? And until that became the problem, it was the solution at first. And then it became a problem. The problem because it was consuming everything in my
Every
life.
waking moment.
So when I step into recovery, I have to get a solution because the problem has turned into me,
Right.
my twisted way of thinking about things, my way of coping with the outside world was to not feel those feelings. And then I get sober and all of a sudden these feelings show up. And I haven't learned how to deal with them. No one ever taught me how to deal with fear.
Right.
You know what I
That
mean?
part's not fun.
No, that's scary. For a big guy like me, when you first get sober, you start having all these emotions.
scared,
You're crying at night, because you feel so bad about the stuff that you hadn't paid attention to for 10 years. And, and you're looking at someone in the face and you realize that, 10 years have gone by and you haven't had a good conversation with them in that span of time. The guilt that can be,
Often is.
and it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
It's a choice. Just like, that guy, I could choose to not have fun for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
Or I can choose to build a life that I could have a great time. And that's what I did.
How?
And
Explain that. I think maybe even just for that one guy that said that listens. Go on that. Like, how did you decide to choose to have fun? What got you back to? You were explaining earlier the dynamic with your brother, and if it comes back up, that might help some, because I know that a lot of people compare themselves to others. But how did you decide to? How did you just decide to go into recovery, man? Because what kept you doing it, even despite that not fun part?
Oh man. Well, my addiction started in high school.
Right.
My junior year of high school football, I blew out my shoulder. Had to get it reconstructed.
Where'd you go to high school?
Clearfield High.
Oh yeah.
Class 03. Last time they won region.
Yeah.
Clearfield and Bonneville, man, are like rivals all over.
Yeah, but when I was there, we were 5A and Bonneville was like 4A, so we never even played them. But now they do, you know. But so I blew up my shoulder and so my focus in life was getting back on that, right?
Yeah.
And even before I blew up my shoulder, my dad played college ball. My
college
older
football?
brother, my older brother played college football. It was kind of in the family. That's what we did.
That was your path.
That was what we did, you know, and I was pretty good at playing football, you know, so I have this injury and I get introduced to these, you know, painkillers and I can honestly say when I started taking those, it was like, oh, that's kind of nice, you know that. Right. Not only does my shoulder not hurt, but I don't care that I just dropped the remote on the floor.
Right.
Because I don't really need that remote anymore.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I can watch whatever's on the tube. Right. You know, because I'm good.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Cartoons.
throw me some
God, I
Otter
forgot
Pops.
those. Yeah.
Sit me in a recliner, and I'm golden.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was like, wow, I've arrived.
Yeah.
You know, this is what it's about.
This is life.
Right?
Yeah.
This is cool. You know? And I look back at pictures of when I was going through these surgeries and look at my eyes and I'm just
Pinned.
peeled back.
Yeah.
Just gone. So I got surgery by junior year of high school, going into my senior year. So I played my senior year ball. I blew out my shoulder again. And they had to reconstruct it again. So I got the first surgery in May, the next surgery in November. So it was about 6 months, 8 months, whatever. So there's pretty much a running script. I got a tab at the pharmacy, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They were giving you oxycodones, like the heavy shit?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they were giving me, you know.
What you wanted.
Yeah. Whatever. And if
He's a good high school football player. This guy's not going to be abusing it. He's got his
super
life
high
together.
tolerance.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm an ox.
Very true. Yeah,
Right.
very
I'm
true.
gonna need a couple more of those.
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
not working.
and a refill.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So, but when I blew out my shoulder, that second time, it was the end of high school football, and so there I'm sitting.
So the second time was senior year. Okay.
So I've had 2 shoulder reconstructions in high school, and I'm looking at going to college. And smart college staffs aren't going to take a guy who blew out a shoulder twice. That's a liability, you know. I just so happened to be pretty good at shot put. I won the state title my junior and senior year, and so I got a scholarship to throw shot put at Weber State. So full ride to throw shot
With your
put.
bad shoulder?
Yeah.
The same arm?
Well, my right's my bad. I'm left-handed. So.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I was going to say.
But it's still, you're using your whole body.
using your entire body.
So that was cool and all, but I wasn't playing football.
Right. And you probably felt that pressure, like with your brother and dad.
It's like, well, shop, it's cool, but it's not football. You know,
I'm not doing what my tribe does.
My entire life was based upon this path that I had set out for myself, and that path was taken away. You know, legitimately taken away. And so, what do? You know, I just, you know, throw a shot put and I get a college, but I don't care, because, you know, do that. That's whatever it pays for school.
But meanwhile, it's incredible. You know, I mean, of course you're not feeling that at the time.
No,
That's incredible.
if I had taken a step back and said, wow, you know, this is really cool.
I'm a state champ,
Yeah.
and I'm scholarship.
Yeah,
my
twice,
college
you
is
know.
good.
Yeah. We pay for school. I'm not gonna have to sweat my butt off in pads and helmets,
Right.
I can just watch the girls go around the track, and I could throw a metal ball.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Exactly.
write the check. I'll go to class. You know, watch the high jumpers.
But instead, you're
I'm miserable.
I'm devastated.
I'm miserable.
Yeah.
You know,
Not appreciating it.
And being in Utah, all my friends went on missions. You know, and I wasn't raised LDS. I was raised Baptist, and so that was always, you know, just a difference.
Right.
My best friends were LDS.
Right.
You know, those people.
Absolutely.
You know, people are great people. So all my friends are gone. I'm going into a new school. I'm still on painkillers because, you know, I'm just rehabbing my shoulder. Go and, you know, start throwing, and I blow my shoulder out again.
Just same shoulder, just having problems with that shoulder.
Just the same. You know, the first time was my labrum.
What was it, labrum? So then
labrum, so it was dislocating.
Yeah.
And then the second was the subscap pulled off the head of my humerus.
Right.
The third one was debridement, because I could remove my arm and it would be audibly like a squeaky door hinge.
Right.
So they went and cleaned it out, and then I got 2 more. So I had five in 4 years.
Wow, man. And meanwhile, that's just a constant flow.
So it was literally an open prescription for 4 years. Man. And, you know, they say you develop a habit in 27 days of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So try 4 years, you know, of doing something that, you know, every day.
What, just out of curiosity, how much were you taking at that point?
By the time I was done, I was spending, by the time they cut me off, I'd got up to about $1,000 a week.
So give me an example in milligrams.
I was doing Oxy 80s. To feel okay, I had to do at least 40 to 50 milligrams. And then to have a good day, you know, I'd do a whole 80. But by the time night went around, I need some more.
Gotcha.
So running 100 milligrams, 120 milligrams a day. And, you know, the ones you get for, like, when you go to the dentist are 5 milligrams.
Absolutely.
You know? So
You're a big dude. So
Dude, I know the vibe. When I used to have to snort 2 80s, one in each nostril, just to wake up, just to get out of bed.
It gets that bad.
It gets that bad, man. And I'm
I never had
surprised you were
enough
able to
money.
Keep it that low. I'm surprised you were able to keep it that low.
Well, I never had enough money
True.
to.
Yeah,
you
true.
know? And my prescriptions were running out like first week.
Yeah.
You know? You'd be like, there's a 30-day supply.
You're like, really?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Because these Lortab 10s are going to go down the hatch.
Yeah, those are gone.
You know?
Those are gone instantly.
Yeah, they can't. I'm telling the pharmacist, you don't even need to put them in a bottle. Just put them on a hand, you know? save.
We laugh about it
save
because
the plastic.
we're on the other side now.
Yeah.
And we can look back, you know, and anyone that's out there, man, I mean, they can do the same thing at some point, you know. But so you're at that point after 4 years, open script.
Yep.
And then what happens?
They cut me off. You know, they cut me off with really, you know, no
heads
taper,
up.
no nothing. You know, just you're done.
Because they knew you were an addict, or because they thought you were
Because
fixed?
I Well, at that time, I had stopped doing track because 5 shoulder surgeries. I can't. At that point, I'm a liability to anybody.
When you're saying track, or you're not talking, you're talking running.
Shot put.
Okay, I was gonna say
Track
okay.
and field.
Well, part of the track.
That's what I thought. So
Yeah.
when he said that, though,
I was
for some
throwing
reason I'm
shot
thinking this
put,
big
shot
dude's
put
running.
and hammer, which is a shot put on a
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
with the
familiar.
hammer. Yeah.
Just when you said track, for some reason I'm thinking this big dude's like sprinting hurdles and stuff. Like
Never.
God. Yeah, I was
Not
gonna
once.
say, dude, yeah.
Not even if there was a fire.
So they cut you off, dude. You're
yeah,
done.
so they cut me off, and I'm not getting school paid for anymore because I'm not doing track anymore.
Right.
So I'm at an all-time kind of low as far as how I perceive myself. So, high school didn't work out, being a hotshot football player.
Right.
Track worked for a while, didn't
Not that you
work
cared.
out. Yeah. And so by that time, I was pretty heavy into addiction, and I wanted to get I wanted to get better because I'd seen the wreckage that it was starting to cause, my family and people around me in relationships and all that kind of stuff. And so I started trying to get sober. I turned 21 in a rehabilitation center. I also turned 31 in a rehabilitation center with a few more in between that 10 years. So I tried to get clean for over 10 years. And I really, really wanted to get clean.
Really?
I wanted to really bad, but I just couldn't get it together.
Was so my story is pretty similar. I had the shoulder surgery and sports and back surgery. Script, same deal. I wonder, and same thing with me, similar. 10. I started trying to get sober when I was 30, 38 now. I wonder, a lot of my problem was linked. So and this might be the same for you, but I get a little tweak in my back, and it throw that craving in because I know, even though the tweak wasn't I could deal with it, but it was I know. And so I had problem for a long time learning how to deal with a little bit of pain, a little bit of especially lifting weights. You're gonna get tweaked up in here. You know what I'm saying? It would throw the craving into my head, and I had to learn how to deal with that and not jump to conclusions. Is that something that you dealt with over those? Because it's a different addiction. You get people that get wrapped up in heroin or opiates, and it's not linked to pain. Yeah. So yours started with an injury, and then it rolled into, So
Yeah, mine was wisdom teeth.
Yeah,
What do you mean not jumping to conclusions?
I wouldn't jump to nowadays when I get my back, I hurt it. You're gonna hurt your back. You know what I mean? Everybody's got a little back pain,
Gotcha.
Tweaks. Nowadays, I don't catastrophize it. I'm all right, man. I'll just put my underwear on. I'll take a hot shower and let it beat on my back, and
Life's not
and
over.
I'll start walking around. I don't need to get into. I don't feel like I need to take anything. You know what? I'm having this conversation with myself where before, early on in my recovery, I'm like, no, and here I'm off and running. Yeah. I'm off and running, looking for him, and calling everyone in my family, and calling my mom, telling her how bad my back hurts, and
Yeah. And justification.
Right. And
you use anything to justify
anything.
Feeling, anything to justify taking those, getting.
Yeah.
But you said it.
Drugs available.
You said it. Things are going bad. Use, escape. Things are going great. Celebrate.
But then then it becomes a thing where it's not linked to pain at all. It's like, it'd be fun to be on these when I go to this movie tonight with my wife.
It turned recreational for me really quick.
Yeah.
To where, I deal with pain whatever.
Yeah, right.
I'd work through a pain in the gym.
Right.
But that nighttime, because I'm not going to take those things before I go to the gym, you know,
Right.
because I'm going to be off and, you know, just, you know, not good. And then, but that night, you know, nighttime, you know, I'm going to save all those up for that nighttime, you know, and the pain ceases to become even an issue.
Right.
You know, you just deal with whatever you got to deal with, because
Right.
you know, you can deal with a heck of a lot if you have a purpose. And my purpose was, you know, taking stuff now. But now I flip that in recovery. You know, Nietzsche is a philosopher. He said, you can get through any what if you have a why.
Right.
Straight up.
You know,
I always say start with the why with
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, what am I doing this for? What's the big picture? You know, am I gonna, you know, whatever I'm doing, if I have a why, that's how people got through concentration camps,
Right.
gulags, total, you know, alienation, humiliation, you know.
Stuff we can't fathom.
Yeah, can't even fathom that. And they got through because they had a why. You know, what that why was, doesn't matter.
Right.
But to them,
That mission.
it was so paramount that the pain and whatever I had to do to get there doesn't hold as much weight as, you know, the goal.
Right.
Right.
You know, and so when I first, you know, when I started getting sober.
Yeah, what
for real,
got you to see that? I'm guessing at 21 you're in a treatment center. At 31 you're in a treatment center. What got you to finally get sober?
Oh, it was a lot. You know,
'Cause 10 years is a long battle, man.
yeah,
for someone who's
I
young as
read
you.
through the rubes of Alcoholics Anonymous a lot, you know, and I've been kind of in and out for 10 years. And during that time, I gained a lot of head knowledge about, you know, I could walk someone through how to get well, you know, but I couldn't
Do it yourself.
do it myself. And it comes down to honesty, you know, with myself foremost. You know,
That
do
integrity.
I firmly believe that I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict, and that me left to my own demise is a life that's unmanageable? Because I have all this evidence. I have 30 years of evidence that would support that.
Right.
That I'm not good at running my own life,
Right.
right? So obviously there's needs to be a change. And I was listening to a podcast, and Russell Brand said it really well. He says it's basically like a holding pattern. So all my life I've been in a holding pattern, you know, where the decision was to die an alcoholic death or recover. But I didn't know how. I didn't have the tools to recover.
Right.
So once I made the decision to, okay, I want to live, then
Which is a why.
yeah, I want to live. I don't know how, but I bet someone probably has done it before, and I might want to listen to them.
Right.
You know, and so I started listening to these guys,
Humility.
you know, in meetings and hanging around the old timers and stuff like that, and getting some of that wisdom, you know, just to know that I could, there's a chance, you know, there was a little glimmer of hope, you know. And Valley Camp it was a huge environment that produced recovery for me. It was a perfect storm, you know. It's you know, 10, 11 guys in a house up in the mountains, and you work with a sponsor and you got, you know, chores to do and whatnot, but I'm not bombarded with busy work or anything like that, man. It's just like I can get down to the
recovery,
dirt.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And
12-step
right.
recovery.
Yeah.
You know, and that in that environment, you can grow exponentially because you don't have, you know, I always just say leave the worries on the other side of the mountain, you know, because you know it's on the other side of that North Ogden Pass, you know, and that is basically a microcosm of meditation.
Right.
You know, I'm going to be in this spot and I'm going to leave all that stuff over there.
Yeah.
You know, so I could go up in the mountains and I could basically meditate for 90 days.
Yeah.
You know,
reading, working the steps,
working
having
steps,
good conversations with people.
Getting a
Being
good
accountable
sponsor.
and being accountable.
Being accountable to 9 other guys.
Exactly.
You know, because that's what I wanted all my life was on a team. You know,
Wow.
I didn't ever want to do this thing by myself. By myself is boring.
Right.
You know, and me by myself is not a good thing.
Right.
You know, so I want people to come alongside me and do this thing, right? So if I got 9 guys in a house, man, we're golden. If 9 guys in a house on the other side of the mountain, disaster.
Yeah.
But put them in this thing and they all want the same thing, man. It just the spirituality and the recovery just explodes. And it's really,
You're immersed in it. It's
Yeah.
like learning a foreign language. You're in the country.
you know, you can become a baby again. You can just learn, just soak this stuff up.
Yeah.
You know, all of it. And you know, I was talking about earlier, I had 14 months, and I went back out. And when I came through those doors again, there wasn't one person that said, "You're not welcome here."
Open arms.
Yeah. They were more excited to see me than they were the first time I walked through those doors.
That's powerful.
You know what I mean?
Just love. It goes
Just-
back.
It's
back to love, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's insane.
No judgment.
No,
Just
the people-
Dude, you're back. Welcome home.
The people I've built a support system that is incredible. You know, everywhere I turn, I'm on. You know, I have my sponsor, and I have my friends in recovery, and it's all the time. You know, text, Facebook, whatever. I work with guys that are recovery minded. You know, at home, my parents have informed themselves about, and I've helped them inform themselves about what this looks like. You know, what a sober lifestyle looks like. You know, it's busy. Dustin, you know, it's busy.
Yeah.
Has to
You
be.
know, Don, yeah. I'm not even doing like recovery as a career, and I'm
Doesn't matter.
every
but you
single
are.
night. I'm at a meeting every single
But
night.
you're doing it. But you're giving back to people.
Yeah. No, and nothing ensures my sobriety than intensive work with another alcoholic. When all else fails, if I can get on the horn and talk to another alcoholic talk to him about what he's going through, because then my problems go away just by
Focusing on.
lack of attention. They're just not.
You're
they're
focusing
not.
on.
Yeah.
On them.
When I'm in this, I can't be in that. I
Right.
can't be in my own head
Right.
doing that thing. So,
Absolutely.
man, it's
Dude, it's so interesting you bring up the whole team thing, because I'm just thinking you're like, alone, I can't do it. As a team, I can do it. And then you think back and it's like, dude, on the football team, that's when you felt at home. Shot put, you're alone. And you're like, nah, dude, this, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just interesting that yeah, you need a team, man. And I think we all need a team. You know, Bruce Lee says, the world is full of good people. If you can't find one, become one. You know what I mean? And that, which, you know, I just love that. You know what I mean?
be the change.
Yeah, and you have a way to do it. There's rooms right there anyone can go in. anybody. You're using your high right now, go to a meeting. Go. It's open.
Yeah, it's like the tribe, you know. It's so powerful with these rooms. I mean, I had a relapse. Let's see, it's been 5 years. It was like 3 years after I started war. So I started war in 2010, and I hadn't really gone hard on the meetings. You know what I'm saying? Like I really hadn't. I mean, I was pretty novice to be honest with you as far as recovery. You know what I mean? And I had this relapse, and I couldn't stop. It was doing Roxy's, and it was bad. I had this thing going. I had this war program going. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I had to step away, and I mean, almost ruined it. And as what happened was, it led me to going back and to getting into the rooms. You know what I'm saying? And I went hard. I mean, I went hard on the meetings and went, you know, and worked the steps and did the whole thing. And I'm thankful that I had that. I mean, me being in the position that I'm in, as far as like leading people to change and where I'm at now, if I wouldn't have had that experience, dude, I'd just, you know. And the thing I love about addiction too, and all the stuff that you're saying, is it's endless. Like people's philosophies and people's, like, you just can always learn. If you act like you got it all figured out, you don't know shit. You know what I mean? Because there's people that are so far further on down the road, and I link it to like spiritually. You know, like I can grow physically in here. I plateaued in this gym, and I can keep going hard and gaining my knowledge in here, and that's all good, and it leads me to my confidence, and I can compete with my cravings or compete with a poor mindset through this gym. But that spiritual side, where I'm growing my character and I'm watching how I treat people and I'm calling people back and I'm patient with my kids and I'm trying to be a good man with my wife, and you know what I mean? All those things are endless. You know, that type of self-mastery, and that's what I appreciate about growing the spiritual condition. You know, so let's talk. I mean, I want to hear about what you know, how you use the gym, and I want to hear about how you've grown spiritually and how those intertwine.
Okay. Well, you know, spiritually, I've always, I grew up in church. So, you know, I had a religion, so to speak.
That was Baptist, right?
Yeah. Now, I go to a church that dropped the Baptist, now it's non-denominational.
Right.
It's, you know, Christian church. And I love it, you know, and it's a lot of head knowledge, and it's pretty cool stuff, you know. I love history and all that, you know. It's just, it's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's good, good vibe.
Good people.
You know, you know, people
Good
just
team.
trying to better themselves or whatever, you know, but it wasn't till I dove into those 12 steps, where I could basically, you know, God was kind of always in the clouds. I look at him as like a 401k. Like you don't really need it right now.
Yeah,
you know?
that's interesting.
I'll cash this in when I'm like 70 years old. You know,
I'll pray
get
every
spiritual
once in a while
then.
and put a little in the 401k, but it's way out there.
Yeah,
he's
I'll
not
make
doing
deposits. I go to church. You know,
Exactly,
You know, I don't look at it. It's
401k.
It's a blind. You know, because I didn't want to dive in and get there. You know, but through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, it doesn't matter. The 12 steps are the 12 steps. Right. Brought me to a place of total surrender.
Yeah.
So it brought me down to, I'm no longer going to church, doing this, that, and the other thing. Danny's no longer up here. I got broken to a place where the only way I could think about living another day was I had to get something that was bigger than me,
Right.
to help me out. And I had a pretty good background of that,
Right.
growing up. I've a perception of God, and it's changed quite a bit since I got into recovery.
For sure, he's not a 401k anymore.
No, man, he's sitting right here.
Absolutely.
And he's hanging out, and I talk to him all day. And I try to look at myself through his eyes, as opposed to through Danny's eyes, because through Danny's eyes, I'm no good.
Right.
I still have those self-esteem issues and all that kind of stuff that we all deal with. Left to my own demise, that's where I'm at. But if I can look at myself through God's eyes, then, he sees a child. He doesn't see any of the bad stuff I've done. Like, if you have a kid, you don't see all the bad stuff they did.
Right.
Just
a
little
precious
kid.
Yeah.
Give me 5 minutes, we'll be all right.
Yeah. Forgive your kids.
Yeah, and that's
Get a little mad at them, but then you forgive them.
Yeah. And so I had to learn to forgive myself, basically, and
That is one
to
of the
know
biggest
that,
things, man.
Yeah, to know that God has already forgiven me, and so I can wash my hands of some of the stuff. I don't regret the past. I don't wish to shut the door on it, but I'm not going to sit and wallow in the past and make all, morbid reflection, so to speak. So being up at Valley Camp and getting the spiritual aspect of the program was incredible. And to tie that in with like fitness,
Right.
or what I stepped foot in the weight room when I was about 15 years old. And
I was going to say,
just
you hadn't been working out a while,
Just
bro.
never left.
Yeah.
It was my love, my passion. It helped me in football and track and all that stuff. But in the weight room, all that stuff goes away. So it's kind of like being on the other side of the mountain.
It's meditation for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say it's as much spiritual and mental time as it is physical for me, because I can go in there and all the day's worries can go away, because I'm just slamming weights,
Right.
man, and I can just get it. I can take 5 minutes to decompress and try and get some of the worry of the world out, and then just hit it, and get lost in myself.
Yeah.
Take a vacation for an
Right.
hour and a half,
Right.
get out of myself,
Right.
get out of my squirrel cage,
Right.
that I run through every day.
Wow.
But it takes some discipline to do that, because a lot of times, when I first started doing that, I'd take my emotions into the weight room, and slamming weights, and if I'm in a bad mood, I'm
Beat it
being
out
an
of it, yeah.
asshole.
Yeah. Being rude to everybody.
Yeah, like throwing weights around, whatever. Just be a dick. And and when I'm feeling really low, then my workouts would be, pretty lax and mundane and all that stuff. So, I started taking just a little bit of time before, when I pull up to the gym, and just, say a prayer like, God, just basically set aside all this stuff and everything that I'm dealing with, and just give me some, an hour or two of peace.
Yeah.
And, and that works for me.
Wow.
Because I could just, and, a lot of it's probably just me intentionally. If I do that intentionally,
Yeah.
then it's in the forefront of my unconscious, and it kind of, the
Yeah.
worries go away. you know, and then I can get good solid workouts in.
Or a good solid meditation in. Technically, right? It's your other side of the mountain.
Yeah. So I'm a lot of times I'll be listening to a podcast or you know, something that's speaking some life into me. You know, and listening to people talk on podcasts is not really like listening to the Deftones working out, you know. Yeah. So, but I found that like my fitness has been way better than when I was younger and probably more fit, because my mind's focused on what I'm doing. I'm thinking about the contraction of the muscle, because that's like, you know, I love that time under tension and contraction of the muscle, hypertrophy. You know, I'm like doing this and that and trying new things and all that stuff. I just get wrapped up in that, you know, and it's like all the other shit just goes away, you know, and I can spend that time. Man, it's almost like prayer. Yeah. You know, I can just let go for just a minute, you know, and
yeah, we're so similar, you know, so similar.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm hearing that, I'm thinking that.
I mean, that's my whole thing, you know, like, I mean, what war and how it all came about was, I mean, me too, same thing, been in a weight room since I'm 15 and, you know, collegiate athlete and strength coaches but what I found for recovery was like, you know, I found a way to just compete with that poor mindset. So same thing, you know, I mean, because it's not every day you want to roll up and go hard in the gym. You know, I mean, most days, I mean, especially just depending on your schedule, you roll in and it's not, maybe you don't want to be in there, but I've rolled in here, man, with people, and I've done the same thing, been so ornery and mad and rude to people because of the carrying it all in here. But I like what you said about that little bit of work before you come in here.
That's big.
And the thing that I've been working on, and I push all my guys to do it, but like right when we finish, we'll usually finish with a conditioning piece where I'll get their blood boiling and then we go right into prayer. Yeah. So like you know, walking out around that flat, so walk around and I want you to work on prayer. We're working on prayer for 7 minutes, you know, and there's just dudes out there just because it sets that platform, the perfect platform for prayer to be worked upon, because you're those endorphins. And dude, I've climbed out of some, you know, I've probably talked about this on this podcast before, but I've dealt with I still deal with cravings. I don't know, I still get, they've been pretty good lately, but I can go pretty far, you know what I'm saying, to where I get pretty uncomfortable and it's, you know. But the way I've used exercise, and especially like in, you know, outdoors, like, you know, for instance, you know, this is a long time ago, but I'm doing good with my addiction. I get the craving and it's popped, and I've been wrestling with it all day, whether I'm going to go over to the doctor and manipulate them and try to get pills, right? I've been just battling. I'd been to the doctor, sitting in the parking lot, and then I'd leave, and I'm just one of those days where I'm just wanting to do it. And when I get that far, the farthest thing too is exercise. Like I don't want to I want to use. You know what I'm saying? And I went to this little nature park over here, and I'll never forget it. It's the most spiritual. And I was just like, mother, you know, just mad. And I thought, and this was my thinking. I thought, all right, if I go, I'm gonna go run, and I made a little playlist, and I'm gonna work on prayer. And if I still want to go pick up after this, then I'm going. You know, I'm gonna go. And so I start running around this nature park, and I'd put this playlist on, and I'm running, and I pick up the pace, and I kind of just, I'm still mad, and I pick up the pace even harder, and I'm, you know, lap 3 and 2, 3 around this thing, and a good song came on, and some scenery I caught, and I'm trying to think about my kids, and next thing you know, I'm like crying. And then next thing you know, I sprinted out back to my car, and I'm cooling down, and I'm working on prayer. And and I was like, what was I gonna do? I was gonna go pick up pills.
Yeah.
It was like I was like Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like a completely different person, and it was that after that experience, I was just like, dude, there's some power in having the balls, because the only time that hasn't worked when I've been competing with the craving all day is if I didn't dare to go do something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't have the courage to say, because you don't want it.
Let me try this first.
And I don't know where that leads. I don't know if that's a good mind frame to have. I know there's a lot of people out there that battle with cravings like that. I know you guys do too. But I got a testimony of that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Of that little truth of exercise. And
Why would you think that's bad? When you say
I don't know if that's the right mind frame.
meaning like, hey, I'm gonna go do
I'm
this.
gonna go do this. It doesn't work. I'm gonna go pick up.
Well,
You know what
it's
I mean?
interesting you say that, because I was kind of thinking about that. I remember back when I was trying to just stop drinking soda, right? And someone said, dude, before you drink a soda, pound a big glass of water. If you still want that soda, have it. I rarely ever wanted the soda afterwards, you know, but when you say that, I think here's the thing, man. If people are already going to use, you know what I mean? They're already in that mindset and they can do what you said. I say, why not? I always tell people also, if you want to use, go to a meeting first. And then if you know what I mean? But I think yours is even better, man, because, you know, if they're going to use anyway, man, you know, unless we have a magic bullet that says, here, do this and you won't use, try something hard first. Like you said, try something that gets you spiritual.
Yeah, if you can, man, if you're heading down there and you can just pause for 30
Right.
seconds,
Right.
if you can just step out of yourself for 30 seconds and just be like, is this a good idea? Play the tape through.
Say what you said
know?
earlier. I'm going to trade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Would I trade this for that?
right.
Chances are 10 times out of 10, I'm not going to choose that.
That small little balloon,
You know?
or that small pill over
Yeah.
this whole life. Like,
Yeah.
when you do step back, when you said that, it just kind of blew my mind, because I'm like, yeah, trading all this for that. Forget
Yeah.
the high, forget all that. Don't romanticize it. That's going to kill me. That's going to get rid of everything good.
So
Hell
sad.
no.
And even if, you know, that one time's successful, say
Right.
you use and no one finds out, or, you know,
Which is
all
the
that
worst thing
stuff,
that can happen.
Worst thing. Then it gets easier and all that, you know, it gets easier every time you, you know, every time you want to stop, then there's like, oh, you know, I did that one time or whatever. But yeah, it's just
Isn't it? Let's talk about that. Like, isn't it times when the craving comes in? See if you can follow me,
Following.
because when the craving comes in, and you start wrestling with it. It seems like time slows down.
Oh, yeah.
Everything slows down. The day can't end. You can't. You're waiting. I remember going, waiting for this doctor to call me back.
Dude, every second, right?
To tell me that the script was full, that it was ready, and it was like hit or miss if I was going to get it that day. That there's no, and
How
I
many
just
minutes
it's,
till he
su-
called you
it's such
back?
a sad feeling. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember trying to go on hikes, I guess where I'm going with this, I'm just thankful I'm not right there. And if there's anybody listening right now, you don't have to live like that with those.
100%.
Because you can't live like that, I go home when you're in those craving mindsets with my kids. They're not even there. I'm just sitting there thinking, I don't know. I'm happy that I'm not.
Absolutely,
Haven't been
man.
dealing with those. I dealt with bad cravings for a long time, but.
Dude, why don't you plug in just while people listen right now, plug in the ward number. People can just call, even if they're not looking for treatment, just to talk to somebody.
Yeah, or even Valley Camp, what we're talking about, this
Right.
Valley Camp. And I mean, there's a lot of people who can't afford treatment, and Valley Camp's a very good option but you know what I'm saying? I mean, I kind of went off on the tangent about cravings, but I'm thankful for the gym in that sense. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, it's just saved me. And where I was going before, I don't know about you. Do you get a lot of your confidence from the gym?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been a bigger guy, my family heritage and whatnot. But man, when I can go into the gym, when I see results from the gym, or just a workout, that's a win. That's a deposit
Yeah.
in the right column. And when I have a craving or something, and I'm doing stupid things, I'm like,
Those are withdrawals from those deposits, right?
yeah,
When you do
giving
stupid
myself an opportunity to put in the other column, the negative. At the end of the day, if I've deposited more positive than negative, I'm probably going to be all right. And for anyone listening, that that happens. You get cravings. Alcohol is a subtle foe.
Right.
It's waiting for the opportunity, to just lull you into a state of relax,
Hey, it's just a beer.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, or it's going to pop up when just that split second when you're the most stressed,
Right.
and all of a sudden it's right there, but if
Someone
I've done
pours
the
you a glass of
work,
wine, you're at a dinner, someone just
Yeah.
pours it. You're like,
if I've done
"Whoa."
the work ahead of time, then I'm probably going to be okay. But that goes back to being intentional about like stuff like the gym. I have to put in the work for all those things. I'm not doing recovery. I'm not doing that in hopes of one day being able to turn down a bag of heroin. Like I don't do that for that, but all these things I do every day, meditation, doing step work, getting with the sponsor, going to meetings, hanging out with, people in recovery.
Yeah.
All those things are adding up to, they're like sets and reps, man. Like I'm spiritually pumping weights when I'm at
I
a
like
meeting,
that.
and my max is going up.
Yeah.
I'm steadily
It's tight.
I'm steadily climbing.
Right.
And if I can just be, for me, I just have to take a minute and just reflect on that. Because in the heat of the moment, I can do a lot of stupid stuff, but if I can pause for just a second, chances are, I'm going to make a right decision. They say pause, think, and act, or it takes, I don't know how long for like anger to burn off, like a chemical reaction in the brain of anger.
Right.
It takes like 6 seconds for it to burn off, like that, that initial pour
That initial pump, yeah.
of I don't even know what it is, endorphins or whatever it is,
Right. A bunch of things.
It takes that time to burn off. And if I let it burn off, then, it doesn't seem.
Well, then you can realize what's really under anger, right? Which is either fear or sadness. Anger's not even a real emotion. It's not even a real emotion.
Yeah, I'm driven, in my addiction, I'm driven by 100 forms of fear. Just fear. I fear everything.
Right.
I fear you because I don't know
Right.
what's going on in your head.
Right.
I fear me because I don't know what's going on in my head.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
like I'm just doing, like, walking through life as on autopilot.
Right.
And
But you got all those deposits that you're making that
yeah,
that
but
help,
if
you
I've done
carry
the
through.
work, if I've done the work ahead of time, then when that thing shows up, my first thought's not my own. First thought, yeah.
Right.
The second one, that one you own. You got to own that one.
Right.
Your reaction to something, in my opinion, is just what it is. Your reaction.
Absolutely.
People don't like spiders.
Right.
The reaction is that. But if my next thought, I have a choice. whether I'm going to pick up the phone, call a sponsor,
Right.
or go to the gym,
Yeah, go on a run.
go on a run, or go use.
Yeah.
You know, I have that choice.
Exactly.
I have that choice, but, you know, I find myself having to be, I wouldn't say like on my toes all the time, but I have a healthy respect for, like what we were talking about earlier, healthy respect for drugs and alcohol, to the fact that I've seen what it does in my friends and family.
Yeah.
But with being sober, people going back out and all that stuff,
Right.
people dying, you know, I've buried a lot of friends since I got in recovery, you know, and it's tough. So if I can just stay on point, then
Absolutely,
go
man.
well.
Well, good stuff, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
I need to get you
Thanks
involved.
for having me.
I need to get you involved with what I'm doing.
Dude, you guys are so similar. It's
well,
crazy.
yeah. I mean, I just been thinking about that the whole time.
He'd be
able to
solid.
help a lot of these guys that I'm working with, and
I'd love to. Any way it can be a service, you know?
Yeah.
So if it's having to do with the gym or recovery, I'm on board.
Dude, love to have you on here again, too.
Yeah, anytime.
Good guest, bro.
Anytime.
So where can people find you? You got an Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram.
What are your handles?
That's a good question.
Right.
Dan Fosmark.
Yeah, Dan Fosmark on Facebook.
Fosmark, how do you spell that?
Fosmark.
Okay, gotcha.
Fosmark. My Snapchat is FOS5050.
Foss 5050.
Yep, that's
Gotcha.
my dad's my dad's college football number was 50. My older brother wore 50 in high school. I wore 50. My younger brother wore 50.
Nice, I like it.
What would you give? What advice would you give to somebody like we do like a weekly challenge? What do you want? So what do you want to give people something to do? Like maybe it's 30 minutes of meditation or something in the morning, or what type of new habit can they put into their life?
I would say wake up 5 minutes earlier than you do. You know, before I'm at the gym at 5 in the morning, you know, so I'm waking up at 4:30. Because that's just how my schedule is allotted.
Right.
But wake up 5 minutes earlier so you can kind of wake yourself up and get kind of going. But before you leave the house, just write down 5 things you're grateful for.
Nice.
Boom.
You know, and that keeps my mind state in its attention. You know,
Yep.
that's a set.
Yep.
You know, I'm intentionally being grateful for things in my life.
Yeah. Remind you of
Because-
your why also.
Yeah, it's my why, and a lot of those things a year ago, not in the question.
Yeah.
Am I grateful for my wheels these days? You know, I had my license suspended for 2 years.
Yeah.
You know,
It's big. to be
so
able to drive,
grateful,
yeah.
so grateful for wheels, man.
Yeah.
The bus is not fun. Look, shout out to UTA. But, you know, it's just, you could look back on what you had, and then you could say, trade this for that. You know,
Right.
like we were talking
Yeah.
about. Give this up.
Yeah.
You know, give up the chance to come and, you know, BS with,
Yeah.
you know, 2 great recovery-minded dudes on a podcast.
Hell yeah.
You know, 6 months ago, if you said that, I'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, no way. Maybe if I took some acid and listened to Joe Rogan, I might think I'm on his podcast or
Right,
something,
right,
you know?
right.
But
Dude, I like that though. 5 things, because when you're saying to trade this for that, if you're writing those 5 things and you keep that log, you know exactly what you're trading, what you'd be trading, right? Every
Yeah.
morning you're reminding yourself, this is what I'd be trading.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good challenge, man. That's solid.
Thanks for coming on. It's going to help a lot of people. The mission of our podcast is to, is for those people who maybe can't afford treatment. So like anyone I talk to, that needs treatment or needs help, obviously I push them to do the rooms and get into the steps and all that. But that's kind of what I was thinking with this podcast. Now they can listen to a guy like you, and all the good stuff you just gave them, and hopefully it can push them to, making, going in the right direction with the recovery. So
yeah, and I'm literally at a meeting 6 out of 7 days of the week. So if you hit me up on Facebook and find out what meeting I'm going to, I hit a bunch of different meetings, and because why wouldn't I?
Right.
They're my people.
yeah.
I could sit home and watch Netflix, or I could go be around people that love me.
Go make a deposit.
Yeah, go make a deposit.
Dude,
I respect that.
And maybe there's a newcomer there that day that needs to hear
Change
something
their
I
life,
say, or maybe I needed to hear something that someone else say that's just a mind blow,
Right.
It's what
A
it
life
is.
full of service, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I think that's what this needs to be titled. Because
Absolutely.
that's where you're
I like
headed
that.
with
Yeah.
the way you're living. I mean, 6 days a week going to meetings, that's 6 days of serious service, especially from a guy like you who got all this good stuff to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People
I mean,
need
that's what I think people need to know about meetings too, is it service.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like there's probably times when you're like, man, I don't feel like going tonight or whatever. But you're like, but then there's that new dude that might be there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's early recovery.
And even the old guys. Last night went to a meeting, men's meetings. Usually in Bountiful, there's usually 30 of us. There were. When I came with one other guy, we were like the fifth. There were 6 of us there.
Right.
They needed that. They needed that meeting. In fact, they called us 5 minutes after it started because they knew we were coming. Because like, we don't want to start until you got, you know what I mean? And that's an established meeting. So just being there helps even the old timers. You're adding to the tribe,
Yeah.
Dude, another thing, I just want to plug the WAR phone number too, man. Just because, if you ever want to call you, it's
Yeah.
good. 801-648-3705, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's my cell.
Yeah, you can hit him up anytime also.
Yeah.
I'm 801-910-9370. Answer questions anytime.
Then we're on Instagram, Dustin L. Hawkins at whatever Instagram. That's my handle.
And I'm Don A. Coleman.
Mine's at D Fosmark, Fosmark.
Perfect.
Fosmark.
Perfect.
Thanks for listening, guys. Keep at it.
Thank you.